Emma Carter believed her life was steady, predictable, and safe. She lived with her husband Daniel and their son Ryan in a quiet neighborhood outside Portland, where mornings were calm and evenings followed familiar routines. After 25 years of marriage, Emma no longer searched for excitement. She valued peace. Daniel worked as an architect. Ryan had recently returned home after college, and Emma spent her days managing a cozy bookstore downtown. Their life was not perfect, but it felt secure, and that security meant everything to her. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, the bookstore closed early because of a maintenance problem. Emma welcomed the unexpected free time. She decided to go home and cook Daniel's favorite dinner, hoping they could spend a relaxed evening together. Recently, their conversations had become shorter, filled mostly with daily updates instead of meaningful talks. Emma assumed it was simply part of growing older together. Marriage, she believed, naturally changed shape over time. As she drove home, soft music played on the radio while rain dotted the windshield. She thought about Ryan and his girlfriend Lily. Lily had quickly become part of their family, polite, thoughtful, and easy to talk to. Emma often imagined future holidays with Lily sitting beside Ryan at the table, laughter filling the house. The thought warmed her heart. When Emma turned into the driveway, she noticed Daniel's car already parked outside. That surprised her. He usually worked late and rarely came home before evening. She smiled, thinking the timing was perfect. Maybe they would share coffee and talk like they used to years ago. She entered the house quietly, placing her keys on the hallway table. The air inside felt still, almost unusually calm. No television noise echoed from the living room, and Ryan's footsteps were nowhere upstairs. Then she heard soft laughter, low and gentle, coming from down the hall. Emma assumed Ryan must be home with Lily. She walked toward the sound, relaxed and curious. But as she approached, she recognized Daniel's voice mixed with the laughter. Something about his tone made her slow down. It sounded warm, careful, almost intimate. The living room door stood slightly open. Emma glanced inside without thinking. Daniel sat on the couch beside Lily. They were close, closer than casual conversation required. Their hands were joined naturally, fingers intertwined. Lily looked emotional, her eyes soft as Daniel spoke quietly to her. He leaned toward her with deep attention, the kind Emma remembered from their early years together. Emma stopped breathing. For a moment, her mind refused to accept what she saw. She waited for Ryan to appear, expecting the scene to make sense. But the room remained still. There was no misunderstanding waiting to reveal itself. A strange silence filled Emma's ears as realization slowly settled in. The image felt unreal, like watching someone else's life instead of her own. She stepped backward carefully, afraid even the smallest sound would expose her presence. Without entering the room, she turned and walked back outside. Rain had grown heavier. Emma sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel while her thoughts raced. She replayed the moment again and again, searching for another explanation. Maybe Lily was upset about something and Daniel was comforting her. Maybe she had misunderstood. Yet the closeness she witnessed felt too personal to ignore. Her chest tightened as another thought appeared. Ryan, if something inappropriate was happening, her son would be deeply hurt. The idea brought a protective pain stronger than anger. Emma sat there for several minutes, listening to the rain strike the roof of the car. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Reacting immediately would only create chaos. She needed to understand the truth before speaking. Finally, she composed herself and returned inside, acting as though she had just arrived home. Daniel greeted her later from the kitchen, smiling casually, but with a hint of nervousness she had never noticed before. Lily was no longer there. Emma answered normally, hiding the storm inside her thoughts. Years of managing family life had taught her how to remain calm, even when emotions felt overwhelming. Ryan arrived home soon after, energetic and talkative. He described a project at work while scrolling through messages on his phone, occasionally smiling at something Lily had sent him. Watching him filled Emma with quiet sadness. He trusted the people around him, completely unaware of the tension his mother now carried. Dinner felt ordinary on the surface. Plates clinked softly, conversation stayed light. And nothing seemed unusual to anyone except Emma. Yet she noticed every small detail: Daniel avoiding long eye contact, his distracted answers, the way he checked his phone more often than usual. Each observation deepened her unease. Later that evening, Emma cleaned the kitchen alone while Daniel watched television. She studied him from a distance, wondering when the space between them had grown so wide. There have been no major fights, no dramatic conflicts. Their relationship had simply become quieter over the years, shaped by responsibilities and routine. That night, sleep refused to come. Emma lay awake listening to the sound of rain fading outside. Memories surfaced one by one. Their wedding day, moving into their first home, raising Ryan together through school years and challenges. She remembered laughter, shared dreams, and long conversations that once lasted until midnight. Somewhere along the way, those conversations had disappeared. Emma realized she could not recall the last time she and Daniel truly asked each other how they felt. They had become partners in managing life rather than companions sharing it. Still, none of that explained what she had witnessed. The next morning felt strangely normal. Daniel left for work after a brief goodbye, hesitating slightly as if wanting to say something more. Emma watched him drive away, sensing guilt hidden behind his calm expression. She spent the day thinking carefully. Anger appeared in waves, but never stayed long. Confusion replaced it, followed by sadness. She questioned whether she had missed warning signs or ignored small changes because life felt easier that way. Emma refused to blame anyone without understanding the full story. She believed truth required patience, even when patience hurt. By afternoon, she reached a decision. Silence would only make things worse. She needed honesty, not confrontation driven by emotion, but a calm conversation that demanded clarity. As evening approached, Emma sat alone on the porch watching clouds drift across the fading sky. The neighborhood remained peaceful. Children riding bicycles and neighbors greeting each other as usual. The ordinary world continued unchanged, while her own felt uncertain. She realized that trust, once shaken, changes how everything looks. Familiar spaces suddenly feel unfamiliar. Simple moments carry hidden questions. Emma knew the conversation ahead might alter her marriage forever. Yet avoiding it would mean living with doubt, and she could not accept that. She stood up slowly, feeling both nervous and determined. Whatever truth waited, she would face it with dignity for herself, for her marriage, and most of all for her son. Because the moment she saw Daniel and Lily together had already changed something inside her. And she understood that the quiet life she once believed unbreakable was now standing at the edge of a truth that could reshape their entire family. The morning after Emma Carter discovered the unsettling moment in her living room felt unusually heavy. Nothing around her had changed, yet everything felt different. Sunlight entered the kitchen the same way it always did. Coffee brewed with the same familiar smell, and Daniel prepared for work as usual. But Emma watched him carefully now, noticing hesitation in his movements and silence where casual conversation once existed. She realized she could no longer pretend ignorance. The truth had to be faced calmly before suspicion turned into resentment. Emma waited until evening. She wanted Ryan out of the house so the conversation could remain private and controlled. When Daniel returned from work, she greeted him gently and asked if they could sit on the porch together. Her voice was steady, which surprised even her. Inside, emotions moved quickly, but years of maturity helped her remain composed. They sat facing the quiet street as the sky turned orange with sunset. For several moments, neither spoke. Daniel sensed the seriousness immediately. Emma finally broke the silence. "Is there something you need to tell me?" she asked softly. Daniel looked confused at first, then uneasy. He tried to smile, but it faded quickly under her calm gaze. Emma did not accuse him or raise her voice. That calmness made it harder for him to avoid the question. She continued, choosing honesty over drama. "I came home early yesterday. I saw you and Lily in the living room." The words settled heavily between them. Daniel's shoulders dropped as if he had been carrying a secret for too long. He looked away, struggling to respond. For a moment, Emma wondered if he would deny everything. Instead, he exhaled slowly, his expression filled with regret. "I never wanted you to find out like that," he said quietly. Emma felt pain hearing confirmation, yet she stayed composed. She needed understanding more than anger. Daniel explained that months earlier he had begun talking with Lily when she arrived early one afternoon to meet Ryan. Ryan had been delayed, and Daniel offered her coffee while she waited. Their conversation started casually: work stress, future plans, and the confusion young adults often feel after college. Lily had seemed lost, unsure about her relationship with Ryan, and uncertain about her direction in life. Daniel admitted he related to her feelings more than he expected. He had also been feeling invisible in his own routine, moving between work and home without emotional connection. Conversations between them continued occasionally when Ryan was busy. Advice turned into long talks, and those talks created emotional closeness neither planned. Emma listened carefully, absorbing every word. Daniel insisted nothing physical had happened, but he admitted the emotional boundary had crossed into something inappropriate. He realized too late that the connection was unfair to both Emma and Ryan. "It made me feel important again," Daniel said, his voice heavy with shame. "But I knew it was wrong." Emma felt tears gather but refused to let them interrupt. The betrayal hurt not because of drama, but because of quiet distance that had grown between them without discussion. She recognized pieces of truth in his confession. Their marriage had become polite but emotionally distant. Still, understanding did not erase the pain. "You should have talked to me," she said gently. "We were supposed to face loneliness together." Daniel nodded, unable to argue. Emma's thoughts quickly turned to Ryan. Protecting him mattered most. Secrets would only deepen the damage. She made a decision that surprised Daniel. "We tell Ryan," she said. "Honestly, calmly. Tonight." Daniel hesitated, worried about hurting their son, but Emma remained firm. Avoiding truth would only delay consequences. A family built on silence could not heal. That evening, Ryan returned home, unaware of the serious conversation waiting for him. Emma asked him to sit with them in the living room. Her calm tone immediately made him nervous. When Lily arrived shortly after, confused by the unexpected invitation, tension filled the room. Emma spoke first, carefully choosing respectful words. She explained that boundaries had been crossed emotionally and that honesty was necessary for everyone to move forward. Ryan's expression shifted from confusion to shock. He looked at Daniel, then at Lily, searching for denial. When neither interrupted, realization settled heavily on him. The silence that followed felt deeper than anger. "Was I the only one who didn't know?" Ryan finally asked. His voice carried hurt rather than rage, which made the moment even more painful. Lily apologized sincerely, admitting she had leaned on Daniel during a time when she felt uncertain about her relationship and her own future. She explained that confusion and emotional dependence blurred her judgment. She never intended to hurt anyone, but she accepted responsibility for allowing the situation to grow. Ryan listened quietly, processing everything. Instead of shouting, he stood and walked to the window, needing space to think. Emma watched him carefully, proud of his restraint even in pain. After a long pause, Ryan spoke again. He said he needed distance to understand his feelings. He ended his relationship with Lily calmly, acknowledging that trust had changed and healing would take time. Lily left the house in tears, grateful that the conversation remained respectful despite the heartbreak. The following weeks were difficult for everyone. Ryan moved into an apartment with friends, focusing on work and rebuilding emotional stability. Emma supported him through regular phone calls, offering encouragement without pushing him to forgive quickly. She understood that healing followed its own pace. Daniel began attending counseling sessions, determined to understand why he had allowed emotional distance to grow unchecked. He became more open about his feelings than ever before, admitting fears about aging, routine, and losing connection with the people he loved most. Emma also reflected on her own role in the marriage. She realized she had focused so much on maintaining stability that she sometimes avoided deeper conversations. Both of them had slowly stopped sharing vulnerabilities, allowing silence to replace emotional closeness. Months passed, bringing gradual change instead of sudden resolution. Emma and Daniel started taking evening walks together, talking honestly about memories, regrets, and hopes for the future. Conversations felt unfamiliar at first, but slowly became natural again. Trust did not return instantly. Emma still carried moments of doubt, and Daniel understood rebuilding confidence required patience. Small actions began to matter. Shared meals without distractions, honest discussions, and intentional time together. Ryan visited often, and although the situation remained sensitive, his relationship with his parents slowly strengthened through honesty. He learned that adults were imperfect but capable of growth. The experience made him more thoughtful about relationships and communication. Lily eventually moved to another city to start fresh, sending a final message apologizing for the pain caused and wishing the family healing. Emma appreciated the closure, recognizing that everyone involved had learned difficult lessons. One spring evening, nearly a year after the discovery, Emma and Daniel sat by the river watching the sunset reflect across the water. The air felt peaceful, not because problems had vanished, but because honesty had replaced uncertainty. Daniel reached for Emma's hand carefully, giving her time to pull away if she wished. She didn't. The gesture felt different from habit. It felt intentional, earned through effort. Emma realized forgiveness was not forgetting what happened. It was choosing to move forward with awareness instead of fear. Their marriage was no longer based on assumptions, but on renewed understanding. The painful moment that once threatened to break their family had forced them to confront emotions they had ignored for years. Through honesty, accountability, and patience, they found a stronger version of connection, quieter but deeper. As Emma watched the sun disappear beyond the horizon, she understood something important. Love does not remain strong automatically. It requires attention, communication, and courage to face uncomfortable truths. And sometimes the hardest moments reveal not the end of a family story, but the beginning of a more honest one.